Everybody, Dr. Diane, your libido doc, talking again about stress and your libido today. We're talking about your emotional landscape and libido. And if you've not been following us this month, please do subscribe and go back through these other stress conversations we've had. We've had several different videos so far this month come out on a wide variety of topics that are connected to what we're going to talk about today, which is the emotional landscape. So we know for females that it's very important to feel physically, emotionally connected, not in a state of fear, in order for the libido to actually be there. You know, what's interesting about this is so many people have said for so long that the libido and that sex and that the desire for sex and a healthy sex life is a barometer for a relationship. My feeling on that is it can be. I've seen many people who have wonderful relationships. They're not having sex, but everything else about the relationship is wonderful. And I've seen some very dysfunctional relationships that are actually having sex as well. So it's not a perfect barometer, but it can be one of many different types of barometers, many pieces that can determine and can be an indicator of a healthy relationship is sex and sexual satisfaction. But I would go past that to say, and the point of bringing that up is I would say that sex and our desire for sex and our ability to engage and prioritize sex is also related to how we are actually internally feeling. And I say that because typically when we're not engaging in sex, we might be very stressed. We might have our mind all over the place. We might not feel confident in our body. We might feel maybe like we've put on a few pounds, the pants are fitting a little tight. We don't want somebody to see us naked, right? All of these types of things can play into our movement towards and our desire for sex. Also, if we're feeling a lot of fear, if we're triggered and we're worried about something and our amygdala, our fear center is really hyperactive, typically that is not very sexually stimulating, right? So all of these things really play into this. So I talk in a previous video kind of just about going for that and the idea of arousal from a standpoint of females' arousal is not typically this spontaneous thing. It can be, but it's more of this process of we feel a sense of emotionally and physically connected. We feel this sense of being seen. Our fears calm down. We feel into the compassion and the care and the love of our partner. And then it starts to, these things kind of circulate. It's like this cycle where it's like, then we get aroused, then we feel emotionally connected, then we get more aroused. So these things are really like this big circle. So emotionally, so what do we do emotionally? So I've talked a little bit about how to ask partners for help and how to do venting activities and that sort of thing. Other things we can really consider from an emotional landscape side of things are how we are taking care of our own emotional body. So this is where we want to think about things like honesty exercise and subconscious exercises. Oftentimes from an emotional landscape standpoint, there's something that subconsciously is maybe driving us. For example, maybe we're feeling fat. Maybe we're feeling ugly. Maybe we realize that we're starting to get more chin hairs, right? Maybe we're finding other people more attractive than us. Maybe we're just feeling like we're a failure at something. Any of these things can be emotional landscape, kind of things. And it's normal for sense of self-doubt to creep in on occasion, but what we need to watch out for are those subconscious things where we get stuck in a thought loop and it's playing over and over and over again subconsciously, because those things can happen so easily. Like we can say oh, I don't feel sexy. I'm not feeling very good in my body. Oh, I'm so stressed out. Everything's so hard. I'm so overwhelmed. All those things can be true. And they very well may be true, but think about this. It's one thing to have a thought that goes on. It's like, wow, I'm not feeling very sexy, right? And we have that thought. And can you imagine, though, if that thought plays over and over and over again on our subconscious all day long? What winds up happening, it's not just a conscious thought, it's the subconscious now has this belief that one is not sexy. That's not very helpful at all for so many reasons. So One thing I like to help people do to start to analyze this and find this is spend a day where all you do is you set your alarm every 10 minutes or so. And every 10 minutes, it's a break state. And you just stop and you think about, okay, what was I just thinking about? What was going through my subconscious? And you write it down. And you write it down. You don't judge it. You don't give yourself a hard time. This is not shame. This is not guilt. This is not judgment. It's nothing. It's information. And after you do this for an entire day, you go back and you read. And oftentimes what people will find is there's a few of these types of thoughts that maybe you think that you have occasionally. And maybe you're having these thoughts 10, 15, 20 times throughout the day. And so the idea with this and really reworking the emotional system is to begin to find them, not make them wrong. Like if you put on some pounds and you're not feeling at your best, or if you've had a really hard time this past year and it's been crazy and you just feel exhausted and not in your highest, say, form, all of that's valid. Your feelings are valid. This is not to say that your feelings are not valid, but this is also to bring in something that is also valid, but it's helpful. So for example, we can begin to say, if like, let's say you all of a sudden your jeans are fitting a little too tight and you're not feeling as sexy. What part of yourself does look really sexy to you? Do you have fabulous hair? Do you have fabulous eyes? Do you have an amazing smile, right? Do you have strong shoulders, right? Do you have a great curvy ass? Like what part of you is still so incredibly sexy? And so when you're feeling those things or you're catching yourself say those things, then we can also respond to ourselves internally and like, oh yeah, girl, you got a great butt. You got a great butt. You got great hair. Right? And these kind of things. So the idea is that we're not kicking out the part of ourselves that's feeling frustrated about overwhelm or overwork or where we at with self-confidence or any of that. We're not making that part wrong, because sometimes if we try to make that wrong, that part gets louder. We're just allowing other parts of ourselves to have opinions. And we do this, we start to transform our emotional landscape. We can still do the things that I talk about in these other videos. We can still do these things of talking to our partner, of helping them hold the vent for us, of working with our internal processes as far as in the bedroom through touch, through emotional connection. But this is another layer of being able to figure out some of these subconscious emotional drivers and work on those things. So we start feeling sexy again. So we start feeling confident again, which is not just about the bedroom. Like the bedroom's amazing, right? When we're really tuned into our partner and we're having great sex and everything's wonderful. That's wonderful. And what we also find is it's very, very, very important from the standpoint of being able to have pleasure throughout our lives. And that's what this practice does. It's about not just about libido, it's not just about sex, but it's how to enjoy yourself, how to self-regulate, how to be healthier, how to be happier, how to age better, and more. So I hope this exercise has been helpful. Again, you can find more work that I do like this in my master classes below. I also would invite you to take my libido quiz at libidoquiz.com. That's going to tell you about the top root causes that you likely have that are driving low libido for you, and then some action steps you can take right away. So the quiz is totally free. Go over to libidoquiz.com. Again, I'm your libido doc. I'll see you in another video.